So it's a landmark moment for the financial history. US Congress has passed its first ever federal legislation to regulate stablecoins. With backing from the Republicans and the strong support from President Donald Trump, stablecoin legislation mandating dollar-to-dollar reserve in Treasury-backed assets, it marks a new chapter in the global financial systems, which is unfolding. And according to Citigroup, which is projected, the stablecoin market could reach a staggering $3.7 trillion by 2030, signaling not just explosive growth, but a strategic expansion of the US dollar influence worldwide. Today, we are diving into what this legislation actually means for the consumers, Wall Street, and the global balance of the financial powerhouses. So we have been joined by two blockchain experts. Let me introduce you to Mr. Subbu Jois, which is founder, Origraph.io. Subbu, welcome on 3.0 TV.
Thank you.
And our second guest is Mr. Kamlesh Nagware, TEDx speaker and blockchain architect. Kamlesh, welcome on 3.0 TV as well.
Yeah, thank you, Manoj, and 2.0 TV.
So my first question to Subbu is, so this is the first time US Congress has passed federal legislation to regulate stablecoins. What does this milestone signal about Washington's evolving stance in the digital currency?
Yeah, this means that there is a transition from the conventional banking and currency system to a digital system.
Fantastic.
It is possibly a big milestone for us in the digital transformation of economies and global currency adoption.
Fantastic.
It will bring in, I think, a huge amount of change in. If you notice, I think for the last 400-500 years or 1,000 years since we've had regulations in banking systems, this is the first time that we are moving from physical currency to a complete digital currency ecosystem.
I mean, Kamlesh, what's your view? What's your opening remarks on that?
So I think, in my perspective, I think it's definitely is a kind of milestone for the digital currency ecosystem. And I think stablecoin, which is one of the digital payment on the blockchain and crypto ecosystem, and it definitely provide the on-chain programmability of the any assets or any kind of use cases, enterprises or the traditional finances who are exploring delivery versus payment versus payment, could be real-time settlement can be happen with stablecoin, and this is going to create the new era where banks or traditional finances companies will start building their own stablecoin, and this GS Act definitely going to give momentum to all this use cases, and we have seen in the last couple of months whether Citibank, whether JP Morgan launched their own stablecoin backed by dollars.
So since Kamlesh has mentioned about, there are broad-based, there are many companies who are willing to come out with their own stablecoins. Citigroup has pegged at $3.7 trillion by 2030. It's a huge, but currently only $265 billion is what the market cap is of the current stablecoins. My second question is, supporters say that stablecoins could unlock faster and cheaper payments. As Kamlesh has also mentioned, that there will be many other avenues of payments as well. But critics such as Senator Warren has warned of a potential bailout. If they are supposed to keep as a 1:1 peg, dollar peg in the treasuries, in the US treasuries. Tether has maintained it has also went ahead and put their money into the US debt. And some of their holdings, I was reading some reports that it's parked in Bitcoin, Solana. How is this going to be a concern, and where should the public draw in the line between the innovation and risk? Is this signaling a risk going forward?
Well, if you go through the Genius Act, you'll find that there are sufficient guardrails which have been built into the system, which will prevent, so to say, a run on the money or possibly any malified intent. Having said that, the guardrails are strong enough, I think, to start off a digital payment ecosystem, currency ecosystem, but it will continue to evolve because that's how the market is and the digital world is. While it gives us new opportunities for, say, asset-backed tokens and coin and currency, and therefore further extension of economies and unlocking a lot of liquidity in the current banking, in the current ecosystem. Yes, there have to be sufficient guardrails built into the system to ensure that there is no abuse of the system.
What's your view, Kamlesh, on this?
I think Manoj, you clearly mentioned like currently all this stable coins technically backed by the US treasuries.
Exactly.
And it is going to impact the US treasury or US debt. And if there's no proper regulation, I think so we're saying is the regulation. I will not go into the detail, but I think we need to measure the risk and the innovation together. Otherwise, it could really impact the US debt, and also if you're not able to manage the one-to-one pack, then it's going to de-risk the even risk the even consumer as well. So that is very important. Balance need to be maintained, innovation plus risk.
Fantastic.
To maintain.
So Kamlesh has spoken about there has to be a big balance between balancing act rather than you also mentioned about, in your last comment that there has to be some kind of guidelines that needs to be followed. But on record, big banks such as the JP Morgan and Citigroup are now calling stablecoins a threat. I mean, in their conference call, I was reading a Bloomberg report as well. So what is your view on this, Subbu?
Yeah, for the conventional banking system, it would obviously mean that, their existing norms of physical fiat economy would be under threat unless they look to move forward and evolve into a digital currency ecosystem. It is obviously going to cause a lot of heartburn for the existing banking systems because they are going to be working in a completely different environment. The whole world is going to change with the advent of something like stable coins or tokens, which can unleash a huge amount of potential and locked up assets which can come into the market and
Fantastic.
Cause I would say not an evolution but a revolution in the financial world.
It's a revolution.
That's where the innovation will play. Yeah.
All right. Kamlesh, Subbu has spoken about a word. That's what I can pick up is a revolution. So what is your view? I mean, since we're talking about broad-based risk as well. So do you think this legislation is turning point that could challenge the dominance of the traditional banks in the payment system?
I think this bill is revolutionary, but I think like this commercial bank and especially the big banks going to work on the deposit tokenization, which recently JP Morgan launched in a public chain, right?
Fantastic.
JPMD.
Yes, exactly.
And I think stablecoin is going to relevant for the related to crypto ecosystem, but when coming to the enterprise or institutional level digital assets, then I think deposit token is going to be really impactful. So currently, if we see like this digital currency, the 4 different assets are, one is clearly crypto, then stablecoin, then deposit tokenization, and 4 CBDC. And I think it is all 4 is going to coexist in the long run. But how you are, which tool is fit for which kind of use cases, that is totally maybe we can see in the future how whether the deposit tokenization going to drive the institutional adoption or institutional payment settlement directly, let's say cash management or the cross-border payment could be enabled by the deposit tokenization, but stablecoin is going to play fuel for all the crypto and NFT and digital assets token ecosystem public chains.
Fantastic. A fuel for the entire ecosystem. That's what Kamlesh has said, Subbu. I mean, he mentioned about a very interesting point that stablecoins as of now are being used only by the crypto ecosystem. I mean, going forward and with listed firms such as Circle, which found their way on the US stock exchanges in June, and it was a blockbuster IPO as well. Coinbase is already seeing stock boost. Circle is seeing their stock, surge on the optimism about the stable coins. So are we, because there is a connection between Coinbase and Circle because they draw some kind of revenue with Circle. So are we witnessing a rise of a new generation financial powerhouse ecosystem tie-ups or is this early market enthusiasm overblown?
I would say that I think we still haven't realized the true potential of what this is going to do. The first thing, as Kamlesh earlier mentioned, the cross-border payment would be the biggest opportunity, especially for international trade. If you look at it from an international trade perspective, which runs into $16 trillion of business, even a partial movement of that international trade moving to stable coins would mean that, an average of anywhere between 90 to 95% reduction in the transaction costs. Say, transfer, say I was reading about a transaction from US to Colombia costs about $12.13,
Fantastic.
which will possibly drop to 0.01 cents. Now, that is just in the case of a single transaction for about $100, right? Now, you can imagine if we unleash stablecoin and the full potential of it in cross-border payments, you can look at huge amount of, say, repatriations that happen by immigrants to other countries is one place where you can see huge amount of transactions and cost savings there. And as enterprise adoption will definitely take off with the lower transaction costs, and then you integrate it with the programmable money concepts, right? Say smart contracts and so on and so forth. You would come to a new level of economies of scale.
All right. So, Kamlesh, you mentioned about stable coins that have mostly been used within the crypto ecosystem, and what is required in terms of trust regulations or infrastructure for them to become the mainstream for everyday payment. I mean, since Subbu also mentioned about 24/7 payment system, cross-border integrity, what is your thought process?
So I think that consumer protection is very, very important because technology, I don't think is we are early because we are is a stage where the technology already proven. Already the crypto ecosystem, already the tokenization ecosystem is perfectly fine. So I don't, but more as a consumer protection because is required, because when you're managing digital assets, you need to have proper custody, you proper security awareness, because if you're managing all assets in your wallet, that wallet security. So I think consumer protection and security is cyber security is another very, very important for the adoption. Of any of the not just stablecoin, but any of the digital asset, whether it's even CBDC as well, whether it's managed by central bank, but you need the proper security around or the consumer awareness and protection around the assets.
All right, consumer protection, cross-border payment, and a better revolution. That's what the word coming in. But gentlemen, Subbu, let me ask this question to you. Current market cap of the stable coins is around $265 billion. Expectations of a $3.7 trillion market. That's what the city has predicted. We have already spoken about it. So, do you think that, Tether commands a lion's share in this? So, do you think the market share of Tether is in threat, with a lot of companies and banks already expressing their interest to come out with their own stable coins? So, how this Game of Thrones is going to be when we speak about the stable coins market share?
Well, it will be driven again primarily by the regulations like the Genius Act.
Got it.
It depends on who's going to be, which country or which regulatory authority will permit what type of stable coins into the market.
Fantastic.
Right. So that will be the supply side of it. Like if you take the US scenario now and the Genius Act comes in, I think that the US banks will be the first off the blocks. Besides large enterprises, like say, I'm betting that Elon Musk and his maverick character being what it is, I expect something like X money, which Elizabeth Warren already has raised concerns of, and I'm sure that he'll have something planned on this. It's been in the works for long, so you can expect large technology companies like the X and say Google and Amazon, among others, coming up with their own versions of a stable coin, which will be definitely bringing down costs and payment systems across the world. Having said that, the regulatory requirements as per Genius Act requires a custodial system, a payment system, and the whole 9 yards of the digital infrastructure to be available, which I think will bring in sufficient guardrails to ensure that consumer protection and building trust in the system worldwide. I think the bigger things to do ahead is to build a trustworthy system so that investor or consumer interests are protected adequately and taken forward.
Kamlesh, a quick reaction on this. How this is going to be. I'm talking about the market share gain and everything. Who's going to lead, and what's your expectation?
I think I may agree with Subbu because all this started with the Web3 players like Tether and Circle, but now with this regulation, actually any financial institution or even any big houses can come and create their own stable coin on the basis of this regulation. I think just compare with how the UPI in India started with the Beam and other thing, and now Google Pay or all these things being come. The similar thing happened for the here as well, where all started with Tether and Circle, but we see many banks and institutions coming, creating their own stable coin or assets, and not just only stable coin, but I think the deposit tokenization, another big threat to stable coin itself.
Sure. So one last question, gentlemen. Ashish Singhal, Subbu, in a recent interaction said that that India is coming out with its crypto paper. And do you think it will include or it is anything to do with the stable coins in India? What is your expectations?
I think that would be the right step for the Indian government because already we have a precedent now set by the US and that would possibly be a benchmark for other countries to follow soon because that can build a more stable ecosystem.
Kamlesh, we were batting on the CBDC pitch. Now this is an altogether change of stance. We are talking about the stable coins. What is your view on this?
So I think in India we can also have a stable coin, but I'm thinking maybe Indian government or RBI will more focus this stable coin backed by the digital rupee.
Okay.
Because digital rupee is a backbone infrastructure for the currency, like how your dollar in US. Similar because this e-rupee backed stable coin could be the future in near term. And I think banks are already exploring and thinking about it.
All right, that's all there is. Thank you so much, Subbu. You spoke really well about how the system is going to evolve and how cross-border payment will look like going forward. And thank you so much, Kamlesh, for being a part of this interaction. You spoke really well about how this only crypto asset is going to be used going forward. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for being part of the stablecoin interaction. It was a pleasure having you both. Thank you.
Thank you.